Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high, cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold up, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up weekdays. Catch us live, somebody, let's go.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys all doing well out there. Hope this show finds you in good spirits, because another day above the dirt is always a blessing. Let's not forget that, shall we? Another day above the dirt is always a blessing. Anyway, we got some things we got to talk about. There's some things that were going on that I talked about yesterday that I feel compelled to kind of go back at it again, right? And talk to you guys about it again, because, you know, we kind of talked about it near the end, and there has been some new updates revolving around the Austin Metcalf case. Of course, we saw some of those things yesterday. We kind of tapped into it a little bit, but we're going to dive all the way into it and get some more details out of these arrest reports that came out revolving around Carmelo Anthony's arrest. All right. So do me a favor, please, and thank you. All right. Hit that like button down below. Crush it. Do what it do. That'd be really appreciated. Please and thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's not forget. Hit that follow button if you're watching on all those other platforms. If you're watching on those platforms like Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, please make sure you're hitting that follow button. Crush that subscribe button here on my main channel. Go to my secondary channel, The Pascal Show Clips. Crush that subscribe button over there. That'd be greatly appreciated as well. All right. Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Check out my Patreon. Check out my locals. And, of course, check out PascalMerch.com. We got some really great stuff over there. Go check it out. PascalMerch.com. Okay, guys. We're going to get straight into this because we're not going to be here for a very, very long time, but we're here to give you guys the information that you need. Appreciate everybody being here. Real talk. Seriously. Thank you guys so much for being here. You know, I guess I don't say that enough, so let me say that right now. I appreciate every single last one of y'all for being here. It really does mean a lot, okay? It really, really does. But let's get into this, all right? We got some things to talk about. Now, we've been talking about this whole situation revolving around Carmelo Anthony and the Austin Metcalf case. Austin Metcalf lost his life at a track meet where Carmelo Anthony came in with a weapon, stabbed him in the chest, stabbed Austin Metcalf in the chest, and then was later quickly arrested. All right. And now this has caused quite an uproar on the internet. Let me just be real. It has caused quite the uproar. And I'm going to say this too, really quick. I've already talked over the past couple days my opinions about everything. Okay, so we're not going to get into the divisive arguments that have been out here as of late. Okay, because honestly, we've already had those debates. We've already had those conversations, and now we just need to get into the facts and in the information that we have right now laid out in front of us. Okay. So what we know right now, until we get more information, because of course we're going to be asking questions, but I already know what the conversation in the internet streets is all about. It is very divisive. It's very divided. People are feeling one type of way. Some people are throwing in, well, a good portion of the world is throwing in the race card. Some people are not throwing in the race card, all of that stuff. Okay. And so what I say about this is we've already talked about that. So now let's just get down to the nitty gritty. Let's get down to the facts so we can have a good, cohesive, copacetic, and calm chat. Okay? Because I know the chat's been a little bit crazy as of late, and I appreciate all y'all in there. Shout out to the mods. Real talk. Shout out to all the mods. Okay? Appreciate you guys doing what you guys do and all that stuff. All right. But nonetheless, we got to get into the information. Now, we've talked about a few things. Okay. We've talked about a few things already, which is apparently Carmelo went over to this tent where the other team, where Austin's team, let me put their faces back up here, where Carmelo went over to Austin's team's tent and sat under that team's tent. Now, he does not go to the same school as Austin or anything of that sort. He walked over, he sat down, and then, of course, all hell broke loose. Why all hell broke loose, we still do not know. Obviously, there's a lot of questions on why he went over there in the first place. More importantly, why did he come in there with a knife on his person in the first place? I think that's the one thing, okay? I think that's the one main thing that everyone's kind of curious about, right? What is the reason why he brought that knife to the track meet in the first place? And I think that's one of the main arguments that everybody has, which is even my argument as well. Why show up to a track meet with an actual weapon on your person? Okay. And that's one thing that just doesn't make sense to me at all, too. I'm still wondering about that. And clearly, that's number one. That's the number one question. Why show up to the track meet with a weapon? Number two, why go over to the tent and sit down under that tent? Why? Why? Did he do that because he was stuck in the rain and he didn't want to get stuck in the rain anymore? Why didn't he go under his own school's tent or anything of that sort? Why did he do that, right? Then, after that, why did he say what he said, right? Why did he say, touch me and you'll find out? What provoked Carmelo to believe that he was in danger if it is indeed self-defense? Because this is what he's claiming right now. And this is what his family is claiming right now. And this is what a lot of people that are Team Carmelo, that's what they're saying out here as well. They're all sitting here saying, oh, no. This is self-defense. In fact, I am getting ahead of myself, but I want to share this with you guys anyway to show you what I mean. This has gone so bad. This has gotten so intense. And this has been so divided that Carmelo has nearly raised $250,000 for him so that he can have a proper legal representation and God knows what in regards to this whole thing. Yes, this is actually real. Nearly $250,000 have been raised in defense for the kid that's accused of attacking Carmelo, for Carmelo attacking Austin Metcalf. Now, here's the thing. I believe that every single person, whether you did that or not, should have proper legal representation. Absolutely. You know, when the state gives that particular person some sort of representation, their own legal representation, real talks, from what I understand, sometimes those people really just kind of, paint by numbers, only do the bare minimum. They're not really fighting for their, allegedly, I'm not sitting here because I know there's a lot of public defenders out there, okay, without any disrespect to you guys. I'm just saying that's what kind of the rumor mill is, right? If you got a little bit of bread, you got a little bit of Skrilla, you could do a lot, right? You can get a lot accomplished when you have somebody getting paid to fight for your own version of justice, right? Fight for your innocence, right? So now you got $250,000 raised for Carmelo so that he can actually get proper representation, which could also mean that maybe, just maybe, if they're able to prove without a shadow of a doubt that this was not first degree, that this was indeed self-defense, that maybe, just maybe, they can reduce his charge. Think about that for a second. And here's the thing. If that's what happens, that's what happens in the court. Let's not forget what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse. I know, boo, tomatoes. Okay, I get it. A lot of people feel some type of way about the whole conversation about Kyle Rittenhouse, but he was looking at some serious charges, and guess what? He was exonerated. He was able to walk. He was found not guilty of doing what he did on that fateful night. Now, not sitting here saying that Carmelo is going to have that chance. I don't think Carmelo even has a chance at all of walking free. There is no way. He did what he did. He admits that he did what he did. but he does say that it was self-defense. And that is a very big conversation to be had. And I think that's one of the main reasons why you're seeing people standing in solidarity and supporting him financially in his legal situation. And like I said, he has every right to have that legal representation if he wants it, right? Just like if it was any other person, he should have legal representation. If this was Brian Koberger, I know, boo, 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 because I know there's a lot of pro burgers out there in these streets as well. But think about this too, okay? Even those people, even Brian Koberger, even Rex Hewerman, yes, I even said the Gilgo Beach cereal monster, even himself deserves to have the proper legal representation so that we have a fair trial and so that when he loses, it's losing fair and mother loving square. Don't you agree? Instead of it going, oh, this is no, we got to run it back because this, that, and the third and such and such and such. No. You want to have good representation? You want some legal representation? Then legal up, baby. Get the right one so that we can just do this one and done. You did the trial. You are either found guilty or not guilty, and we keep it moving. And that's it, right? So again, he has every right to have legal representation. And if people want to pay to spend a little bit of their bread to support Carmelo, hey, that's their prerogative, right? That's most definitely their prerogative. But it is interesting nonetheless that they have raised $250,000 very quickly, right? Very quickly. On Carmelo Anthony's behalf, okay? Now, let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this article. And we're going to go into the arrest records or the arrest reports here very shortly as well, okay? Real talk. But let's take a look at this. And, like I said, everyone is entitled to their thoughts and opinions as long as it is respectful. Let me just say that. So nearly $250,000 has been raised for a high school student accused of fatally taking the life of Austin Metcalf. So we already know the name of the assailant. His name is Carmelo Anthony. He is 17. He's accused of taking the life of Austin Metcalf at a track meet, okay, on the 2nd of April, okay, in Frisco, Texas. He has been arrested and charged with M. So the 17-year-old's fundraiser, which was posted on Give, Send, Go. So this is the real quote unquote GoFundMe, for lack of a better term. This is the GoFundMe account that is actually real. So now they have a goal of $300,000. Diggity damn. $300,000. Diggity damn. Damn. Okay. I didn't know it was $300,000. I thought it was like $100,000. I could have sworn it was like, when I first thought it was $100,000, but they raised it to $300,000. But okay, they better get the best of the best. Okay, yeah, Rose, golly, all right. But they have raised nearly $250,000. Okay, they've raised $248,000. I can't do math. $248,385, y'all. That's a whole lot of quiche. Okay. Nobody pull up in that Maybach. All I'm saying. Okay. But moving on, I'm joking. Not saying that they would do that. They're gonna funnel all this money to the right legal representation. And of course, he will have his day in court. And hopefully it will be 110% done fairly. Right? Now that he has the funds to fight for his innocence. Okay? Whether you agree with it or not, that is his legal right, everybody. That is his legal right. Moving on. This is what it says. Help Carmelo official fund. This is the official support fund for Carmelo and his family during this challenging and difficult time. Now, I'm curious, with all due respect, hopefully this is just for legal reasons. Because I don't see the parents getting fired from their job or losing their gigs solely because of what their son did. You see what I'm saying? That's not right. If their son did what they did, they shouldn't be losing their jobs. They should be able to do their job and live their life and, citizens of the world, right? But let's continue, okay? So this is not only just for Carmelo, but it's also for the family during this challenging time. Interesting. So the narrative being spread is false, unjust, and harmful. As a family of faith, we are deeply grateful for all your support during this trying period. Your prayers and assistance mean more to us now more than ever. And this is from the Anthony family. Okay. And there's not a whole lot left, or there's not a whole lot in this information. I wish there was a little bit more information like, hey, we are raising this money specifically for Carmelo. Because when it says and his family, that I'm like, what? You're not. He's not gone. He hasn't lost his life. To say you're not using the money for funeral reasons, right? So you better be using this almost soon to be $300,000 for legal reasons. Period. Right? Period. That's just me. It's just how it's written. It's just how it's written. Maybe they'll change. Maybe they'll reword things a little bit differently later on. But nonetheless, okay, bringing in the best of the best can be very pricey. So like I said, hopefully they're taking all that money and they're funneling right where it needs to be, which is defending Carmelo in the best way possible. So that, honestly, if they can lower the charge, if they can get it down to second degree, if they can, whatever it may be, that also is up to having the right legal representation. So I'm hoping that they do exactly that, right? Fingers crossed. They use the money for the right reason, taking care of Carmelo and his legal needs. But moving on, okay? So lawyers of a teen charged with M, okay? They have released a statement. So let's take a look at this too, okay? Let us take a look at this. The family of the 17-year-old of Carmelo. Okay. So blah, blah, blah. They say that they are severely saddened over the death. The teen's attorneys said in their first public statement since the incident, while calling for the public to refrain from rushing to judgment. And also refrain from reading BS doctored fake accounts, making things up and putting it online. Like I said, you know what I mean? We have to be fair here. It would be the same thing if it was, Brian Koberger, or if this was any other person that's being tried. I would say the same thing. We have to be fair. Yeah, we all have our opinions. We all think, oh yeah, he did that because he did it. He says he did it. So that's without a shadow of a doubt, he's already guilty. Because he confessed right off the bat. I did it. Oh, I'm not alleged. I did it, he said. So he most definitely, mother-loving, did it, right? So outside of that, yes, there's going to be people who are going to be angry. There's going to be people who are going to be making things up. And we have to be very vigilant on getting the right kind of information, because people are out here making things up because they want to move the goalpost to make certain parties look good and make the other party look bad. And right now, certain things are there's fake accounts coming up and coming out of nowhere, being made up to make Carmelo look like the good guy and that Austin is the bad guy. Like I said, that we reported this yesterday. There were reports of allegedly Austin was ODing. Real talk. This is no lie, that he was ODing, and then that's how he was actually poked in the chest, which makes no sense. That he was on MDMA, he was ODing, and Carmelo just happened to plunge a knife into his chest. It doesn't make any sense, guys. Like I said, people are making things up so that one party looks like the a-hole and the other looks innocent. So we have to be very mindful of the information that's being out here. And I know somebody said in the very beginning, right before I was about to get started, about to get live. Somebody said, oh yeah, there's, documents that are fake and all that stuff. Well, the documents that I have, the arrest reports that I have are indeed real. I reread a portion of it last night. We're going to read the rest of it or all of it today. Okay. On this show, this is authentic and this is real. Okay. But like I said, there are accounts coming up posing as local PD, chiefs of these towns and all that, okay? Of these police departments in these towns, acting and putting out information that's not true at all about this case. But this is how desperate people are getting on trying to change the narrative, okay? And again, like I said, it is very frustrating that we live in a time that it is all like what we see at the surface, okay? And then automatically everyone goes for one side and one side only, specifically because of the color of somebody's skin or not. It's very frustrating and it's very sad. Me, like I've said it before, I'm sorry for saying it now. I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but I say we have to err on the side. We have got to err on the side of finding out the truth and leaning on facts. Forget the races of these kids. And think about the fact that these are two lives that are destroyed because of one kid's decision. Real talk. Doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if Austin was taunting him. It doesn't even matter if Austin was throwing out a racial slur. It still does not mean that this kid deserved to have a knife plunged into his chest. Don't get me wrong. Let me tell you something though. These racial slurs can make somebody feel some type of way. All right. They're hurtful. They're hateful. Okay. They can make somebody angry is all get out. But at the same time, that murder does not justify it. Okay. Maybe throwing out a slur back at them, or throwing out an insult. Yeah. Okay. Back at the person who just threw that insult to you. Okay. You know what I'm saying? But you pulling out a switchblade or whatever the hell he had and just thump right in his chest, it does not justify it. I'm sorry. Maybe a closed fist across the face, right? Giving the kid a black eye, not a black guy, but a black eye. Maybe, right? But a whole pokey poke in the chest area? No. Thou shalt not finish the sentence. Okay. So moving on. They're saying, please do not rush to judgment. And that's true. I think that's fair for us to do, right? Especially if you're just leaning on the fact that one kid is black and one kid is white. I think that we need to sit back and wait and find out more information. Because you know what? There's still a good possibility. I know some of y'all going to be angry, but I'm going to say it anyway. There's still a good possibility, though, that he could have been defending himself. It could be grounds of self-defense. Just wait. And if there's no proof, no evidence, then it ain't self-defense, baby. But still, no matter what, the common denominator, the reason why we're having this conversation is because a kid has lost his life at the hands of another kid. That kid is arrested for specifically doing such thing. Thou shalt not finish the sentence. Moving on. Austin Metcalf, 17, an 11th grader at Frisco Memorial High School, passed away, we already know, after Carmelo did what he did. The suspect we already know about Carmelo. All right? So he has been charged with first-degree M, which if his lawyer, with the $250,000 that he's raised on that GoFundMe, that crowdfunding site that they put together, with the help of that, yes, he could possibly, if those lawyers are good enough, they could possibly knock it down to second degree. Okay? Because this kid is looking at the rest of his life, potentially looking at the rest of his life behind bars right now with no legal representation. So depending on how they use this money, and hopefully they use this money smart, this could be a different situation here in the next couple months. as we start to get closer to, to an actual trial. But let's move on. His family has retained Dallas-Fort Worth area defense attorney Billy Clark of the Clark Law Firm and Kim Cole of K. Cole Law in the case, according to a joint press release from their firms. So they have stepped forward. And I'm sure these two are not cheap, okay? They are the names of these law firms. Do you understand that? They're not going to be cheap. So let's move on. Two lawyers coming in to defend Carmelo. So Carmelo and the entire Anthony family are sincerely saddened that a life was lost and offered their condolences to the family of Austin Metcalf. So this is what the attorney said in the statement. Moving on, they said, during this difficult time, we urge the public to refrain from rushing to judgment before all facts and evidence are presented. Carmelo, like all citizens of the United States, is entitled to a fair and impartial legal process. I agree. We are committed to ensuring that Carmelo's rights are indeed protected throughout each phase of the criminal justice system. Then Anthony is being held in the Collin County Jail on a $1 million bond. In fact, they were trying to drop his bond. And of course, they were trying to drop his charge, which is crazy right now because they don't have any proof of said thing yet. They may find proof of self-defense. We don't know yet, right? Or it may just be a decision made by a jury of their peers in this courtroom. This is going to be interesting, though. The attorney said they plan to work with the Collin County District Attorney's Office to seek a reduced bond, like I just talked about, and a better determination of the filed charge. In other words, they're going to try their best to knock this thing down just a skosh. That's what's going to happen. And here's the thing, Brooklyn G, baby. Brooklyn G, baby. What's up? Here's the thing. If there is footage out here, where is it, though? I want to see it too. You know for a fact that stuff would be viral right now. If that footage is out there on the internets somewhere, everybody and their mama would be watching it right now, reacting to it, replaying it, talking about it, rewinding it, talking about it like they're going through football footage. You see, defense tackle right there should have did a scoopity do, and he didn't do such and such. Don't you see? And you know how it is. Okay, they would have pulled out the pen and drawn on the screen, right? The defense should have gone around the other way and got past the line of scrimmage, you see. You know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about because we do it over here too. Okay, but moving on. This will certainly be a long road ahead during this challenging time. We ask for prayers for both families, and we ask for your patience and respect for the legal process as we seek the truth. Okay? In the wake of the incident, Anthony's family has launched a fundraiser, which we already know about, and now it's close to $250,000, guys. $250,000. Let me say that again. And it's on the Give, Send, Go. So if you want to go there, if you feel compelled and you believe that, that he should get proper representation, and you want to help his family out, go over to the Give, Send, Go. You are more than welcome to do so. All right. Which as of early Tuesday afternoon, raised more than 236,000, but actually it's now 250. By the way, the fundraiser page did not detail how the funds will be used, and I have to say that is a big freaking problem in my personal opinion. Sorry, not sorry. I feel like whoever wrote and created the page most definitely needs to say they need to cut out the part of, which we're going to go back to, I'm sorry, but this is one thing that people will side-eye like a mug, okay? People will side-eye this stuff like a mug. Look at this. This is to support. This is the official support fund for Carmelo and his family during this challenging and difficult time. That's it. That's it. Do you understand? That's all they say here. That to me is, I'm sorry. That's a bit of a problem to me. I'm sorry. It's just weird. It should be this is the official support fund for Carmelo and his legal representation, right? Or this is the official support fund for Carmelo's legal representation. That's it, right? Not the family part. I get the family needs to, you know what I mean? But at the same time, they still got to work. It's not like he's a missing kid. They know exactly where he is. He's behind bars. They can go see him, I'm sure, anytime they want. They still got to work. So that seems a little bit weird. So that's why, if you notice, ABC even said it. So I ain't crazy. It's official. I am not crazy. Okay. So there it is. The fundraising page did not detail how the funds will be used. That's a little bit sketch. Just a little bit, potentially. And it could just be a misunderstanding or an oversight. So hopefully they will do whatever they can to make that happen. Okay? To make that change. Michael Jackson. Anthony allegedly confessed to the unaliving, and the officers say he told them he was protecting himself, which we're going to be seeing in the arrest report here shortly. One officer responded. The one officer who responded to the scene said Anthony told him unprompted, without being asked any questions about the incident, he said, "I was protecting myself," according to the arrest report. When the officer advised another responding officer that he had the quote unquote, the alleged suspect, Carmelo responded, "I'm not alleged. I did it." Okay? I did it. And Mimi to 5, no, they have not. We have not seen an interview from the parents at all whatsoever, which is also, I mean, they don't really have to. There's no have to, right? They don't have to step forward and do any type of interviews. They don't. But I think that over time they will. I would hope that they do. But if they don't want to, that's their prerogative. That is not I don't think that that's a foreshadowing or that it's a insight into the family themselves. I'm sure the family is absolutely distraught, and I'm sure that they are not cool with just getting all up on the cameras and all up in these videos, doing all kinds of interviews and all that stuff. Maybe they just need a little bit more time to process what just happened. Their son, who they claim has the great GPA, 3.8, 3.9 GPA, was a star athlete in his own right, just did something so unbelievable and has destroyed his own life doing this one thing. I think the family needs some time to process and go through those things too. So when they are ready, which I'm sure they will be at some point, they'll step forward and speak out, but not right now. I get it. I don't know if I'd be ready to. Like, my own kid did what? He did the what? Why did he do that? He was on the right track, man. You know what I mean? It's like he was on the right track. Why would he do that? The hell's that all about? What's going on here, man? Why? You know what I mean? I feel like there's a lot that they got to process before they can really speak out. But they have been saying things. They're saying that they believe that their son was defending himself, that he was defending himself. It was self-defense. That's what they believe. But, like I said, let's wait until we see the footage. If there is footage, shoot. If there's security cam footage, maybe there's footage that shoots on the track that maybe they have off to the corner. There's a little bit of, you can see the fight over to the side. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But something here ain't right. And hopefully they start talking here. Hopefully they start coming out with that footage here very, very soon. But let's continue on. Okay. Anthony made another spontaneous statement and reportedly asked an officer if what happened could be considered self-defense. Now, some could look at that and go, was he plotting? Was he out here plotting? Or no? Hold on, guys. Hold on. My computer just glitched a little bit. Hold on, guys. Well, dang. Give me a sec, guys. I will be right back. Hey guys, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. My whole computer just fritzed on me, so I had to reboot. Okay, but we are going to get back into it. Sorry, guys, that was a little annoying. So let me pull this up for y'all. Okay. Again, if you guys can hit the like button down below, please and thank you. Hit the reaction button. That'd be greatly appreciated. And all of that goodness, that would be appreciated. All right. But let's see. Moving on, moving forward. I don't even know where I was, to be really honest, because everything just kind of just fritz. Now, one thing is for sure, though, we did learn that they did not know each other at all. According to the parents, according to the family of Austin Metcalf, they're saying that Carmelo and Austin did not know each other at all. Okay. They did not know each other at all. And I think that's an important piece of information there too. Right. But nonetheless, I think it is very interesting that, how this whole thing has transpired. And of course, it's very sad. It should not have happened. Everyone should still be living their life and all that stuff, such. Okay. But okay, let's move on. So we already know about raising the money, all that stuff. Okay. So responding officers said they spoke to multiple witnesses, including one who reported that the altercation began after Metcalf told Anthony to move out from under their team's tent, according to the arrest report. The witness reported that Anthony allegedly reached inside his bag and said, "Touch me and see what happens." This is what, according to what the arrest report says, which we're going to be reading here in a second. Then they say Metcalf grabbed Anthony to move him, according to a witness. And Anthony allegedly pulled out what the witness described as a black knife and attacked Austin once, or stabbed him once in the chest, and then ran away. Okay. So the Metcalf's mother says it just doesn't make any sense. Just because the kid was mad, my son is not here anymore, and I don't understand it. And of course, some people will sit here and say, I don't know what's actually going on, right? And the thing is, you know, I think that there's a lot of questions on what actually how this whole thing actually transpired, right? Now, hold on, I gotta check something real quick. I want to see something for myself. Right quick. Hold on one second, guys. Sorry. Okay. Um, let us continue. Hold on. Huh. Looks like we got a little something here. So I'm going to play a little bit of this. I'm not going to play the whole thing. But I am going to play a little bit of this. Apparently, there was a press conference or a news conference. Allegedly, this is what it's saying here that somebody by the name of Dominique Alexander with the Next Generation Action Network spoke to the media on Tuesday afternoon after meeting with Frisco police about a track meet stabbing investigation. He said police agreed to protect Carmelo Anthony's family, who have received threats. Okay. He also asked people to stop spreading misinformation online, which, of course, is very important. Let's take a listen to a little bit of this before we go into this police reports. Okay. But apparently, there was a little bit of updates on what's going on here. Let's take a look at this.
I want to start off by saying real quick that my comments are represented today by the Next Generation Action Network that have been working with the Anthony family from the advocacy standpoint. I'm not the Anthony family attorney. Of course, you know the Next Generation Action Network is no stranger to this line of work. And we have been representing families for the last 10 years from an advocacy standpoint to get to the bottom of this situation. The Next Generation Action Network, since the last past week, have gotten thousands of calls regarding this situation and making sure that our organization was involved in this situation because of the growing tension of racism and bigotry involving with the case. I want to start off by saying that I appreciate the deputy chief, John Stretch, from being able to come here to meet with us, as well as the assistant police chief, Darren Stevens. These are two individuals who are currently over the investigation that is currently going on in Frisco ISD. Of course, let's start off in the proper way. I'm Minister Dominique Alexander. I serve as president and founder of the Next Generation Action Network, the largest human and civil rights organization in North Texas. Today, we had a meeting with the leadership of the Frisco Police Department to discuss the matter of urgency in escalating racial threats and bigotry and online hate directed at the Anthony family. Let me be clear. The Anthony family cannot leave their home because of the growing threats towards their safety.
That's not good.
Their personal address has been exposed. They have received graphic and racist threats. They are being targeted with violence and simply because their child is in the center of this tragedy. We are here just for this justice must be fair and impartial and protected from biases. We cannot allow racism and bigotry to divide us. We cannot allow white America to decide when and how Black people can speak up against oppression. We do not pull the race card, we live it. Yes, this case is a tragedy. Anytime a child is lost, we mourn as a community. Our heart goes out to the family of Austin Metcalf, but we do not erase the right of the Anthony family to be protected and heard and treated with dignity. That's why today we spoke with the Frisco Police Department leadership to demand answers. We need to know what steps are being taken to protect the Anthony family, the strategies of the threats that's being spreaded, and how Frisco Police is ensuring that Carmelo Anthony's Sixth Amendment right, a fair and public trial, is fully respected. Let's make it clear that absolutely we have the full permission and trust of the Anthony family and authorized for the Next Generation Action Network to speak today. Today in this meeting, we talked about and was able to give them graphic images of what this family has had to deal with for the last couple of days. It is sad. These graphic images not only display children with knives, Black children with knives stuck in their head, the Anthony family's address. We saw when this case first started that people were putting online that when Section 8 was accepted into the Frisco neighborhood, that became the lead of the downfall of Frisco. We have saw so many different hateful images, just hateful things. And the Next Generation Action Network wants to reiterate that Carmelo Anthony has a right to a fair trial, unbiased, and removed of racial hate and bigotry. I want to make it very clear, and I say this from my heart and my own personal reference. If someone wants to say race is not in this situation and shouldn't be, well, I asked all of those people to join me in calling it out. But don't look at Black people and say, don't always play the race card. We don't play the race card, we live it. We live a reality. We also feel that the bond that Carmelo Anthony is on is too high. We do. Because guess what? We've been here when Aaron Dean was arrested. We was here when Amber Geiger was arrested. $200,000. The system, it has a problem in it. Now, what I want to be able to do is ensure, and what we was able to hear today from the Frisco Police Department is reensuring that the Frisco Police Department is doing everything that it can to address the racism and the bigotry. We have saw the police chief, a statement being sent out by the police chief that was false. We have saw a false autopsy report that was false. We have to caution the community to say, hey, we cannot trust everything that is online. The disinformation that is going online is hurting this case, and it has to stop. It has to stop, y'all. As we know it right now, Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony did not know each other. They did not know each other. Let's stop it. They were not at a party together. Let's stop the lies regarding this situation. We also know that both Austin Metcalf, the twin brothers, were on the roster that day to be at that track meet. We also know that Carmelo Anthony was on the roster that day to be at that track meet. We know they both arrived, all of them arrived to this facility via the transportation of Frisco ISD.
I just want to make this abundantly clear. Carmelo Anthony was competing at the track meet. I just want to repeat that because some of y'all were like, you need to do your research and blah, blah, blah. No, he was competing. And now you're hearing it right here from this man's mouth. Carmelo Anthony was also competing there. Why else would he be there in the first doggone place if he wasn't competing? You know what I mean? Unless he was like an audience member. Just so you know, he was indeed competing. So let's let that go to bed now, okay? And I've been doing my work. Yeah.
The lies has to stop, y'all. Far as the legal strategy, I'm not talking about that today because that's not my place. I'm not the lawyer. I think you guys have all had a statement in regards that the lawyers have asked for a bond reduction and they will release that in the way. We are solely here because where racism and bigotry and hate arises, the Next Generation Action Network will be there and will respond to that hate. We will not allow our communities to go under attack. We know that when people see a white and a black man in an unfortunate situation happen, that race always become a factor in that situation. And it's really because people don't want to really have a conversation about racial reconciliation in this country. And the current climate that we live in, where racism and bigotry is at the forefront, we don't really want to have these conversations. And social media has been a stomping ground for people to be able to launch any disparity that they want to. And so, you know, our heart goes out to all who are involved. The Next Generation Action Network continues to restate that we are here to support this situation based on what we have seen. We want to continue to express Mr. Carmelo Anthony's grounds of where he has displayed self-defense. I think that in the next coming days, as you see the things going out in the courtroom, it will be displayed. But today's meeting was solely about the threats that have been going towards their home and ensuring that there is a fair and impartial investigation going on.
Now, of course, unfortunately, I can't play the whole thing right now. I'm kind of on a time constraint right now, a little bit of a time crunch. But of course, you know, I highly recommend you guys go check out the rest of the press conference or this news conference as best, you know, and check it out for yourselves. I mean, I agree with him. You know, it's not good to be putting out misinformation and fake news out here. We really need to be diligent on what on getting the facts and not putting out and keep resharing, reposting stuff that isn't true about the case. I agree with him 110%. Because at the end of the day, we want truth and transparency. We want justice, and we want the right charges for this kid. Again, mind you, some people are saying he's innocent, right? He is, in my personal opinion, he's not innocent. He plunged that knife into that kid's chest. He's not innocent. He didn't act. Okay, he put harm on another person, taking that person off of this planet. He is still responsible for doing said thing. Now, it'll still be a matter of if it is self-defense or if this is first degree M. That is what is going to be that's what the situation is going to be, right? So again, it'll be very interesting to see what happens here as time goes on. And I want to know more truth, of course, as well, right? I want to know more information. I'd love to see if there's any Snapchat videos, any Instagram videos, any videos in general, cameras in the room, in the area. Maybe some mom was filming their kid and, running up and down or whatever during, you know what I mean? Or just filming something, or a parent was filming a little bit of something and saw the action go down, and maybe it got caught on film in some strange way. I mean, anything is possible, right? But at the end of the day, what Carmelo did is wrong. And he took this young kid, he took another person's life, period, guys. I mean, there's no if, ands, or buts about it, right? It is what it is. But let's get into this police report, because I got to kind of blaze through this, unfortunately, guys, okay? Because we need to look at this and talk about this, okay? And of course, when I get more time, I'll take a look at that press conference a little bit more when I get a chance. But now, G baby, okay. Brooklyn is saying, if you watch the rest, they have footage. Now, if they have footage, hopefully that stuff will come out. But if I don't think that they're showing it in the press conference. And I'm scrubbing through it right now as we speak, just to see if they actually show actual footage, and they don't. So again, when the footage does come out, for a fact it'll get leaked, it'll be put on the internet, and we will watch what's going down. But nonetheless, this is a very tragic situation. This is not a black and white thing. This is a right or wrong thing. This kid did this. He says it out loud that he did it. Whether it is self-defense or not, he still plunged the knife into this kid's body, taking this kid out. He is going to be held responsible for that in some sort of way. Will it be first degree? Will it be something less? We don't know. Okay. Will it be life in prison? Will it be 5 years in prison? We don't know yet, right? It all depends on what his team does, how they're able to build a solid argument, right? How they're able to build a strong argument to exonerate this kid. But we'll see what happens, right? Anything is possible. Shoot. We saw Kyle Rittenhouse. We all saw that. Somebody else said Zimmerman as well. Let's not forget that one too, right? We all seen it. We all seen those moments. They do actually. We all saw OJ. Okay. We all saw that too. Okay. When everybody's like, oh, it's done. He's done. Then suddenly there's a curveball, right? A left turn, and suddenly they get exonerated. So anything is possible. It's up to the court and the facts that they present to a jury to show that he, without a shadow of a doubt, was defending himself. It was self-defense, or this was cold-blooded murder. Let's take a look at this. We got some reports to get into. Okay, we're going to blaze right through these. Okay, so just rock with me. Okay, I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. Hit that like button down below, please, and thank you. Don't forget to do that. Okay, hit that subscribe button, please. Subscribe. Hit that like button. Hit it, please, and thank you. And let me get this real quick. Rook, what's up, man? Thank you so much for the love. Hi, Pascal. Good to see you. I know you had a little bit of a typo. I understand. And the family, what up? Thank you so much for the love. I appreciate the support. Okay. But again, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and then let's rock and roll into this. So this is what I read to you guys yesterday, but we're doing a little bit of a recap on this. Okay. So let's see. Adult male was taken into custody following the stabbing call, okay, on FISD property. Okay, so this Eduardo Cortez, okay, and I'm going to skip down a little bit. I immediately left my office after he received this call about this whole situation, and a black male, this assailant was a black male wearing a gray hoodie and white blue sweatpants. I'm sorry. He immediately left. He says, I immediately left my office and ran across the Staley middle school parking lot. All right. parking lot towards the southwest entrance into the stadium. As I entered the stadium, two high school age students informed me that the victim was on the north end of the stadium by the bleachers under the Memorial High School tent. I did not identify these students. Next, I proceeded towards the north end of the stadium, visitors' side, on foot. As I got closer to the north end, I could see the Memorial High School tent with multiple individuals under the tent. Once I arrived on the north side bleachers, an adult male who was on the track pointed out the suspect. I was not able to identify that witness. The individual that was pointed out to me was a black male wearing a gray hooded sweater and dark colored Nike pants. Yeah, he was there for the meet, and he was wearing that because it was cold and it was starting to rain outside as well. And I think that's one of the reasons why some people were thinking that he wasn't there to compete, because of what he was found wearing when he was arrested. No, he was just wearing some coveralls to stay warm. Okay. The suspect at this point was on the track on the north end, so he didn't get very far. He attacked him, he attacked Austin, and then he kicked rocks. He apparently discarded the weapon and tried to run, but he didn't get very far. Okay, he didn't even put up a fight. So that says a little bit about him too, just a little bit. Okay, he still did what he did, but it does show that, you know, he was remorseful. Okay, because of what the reports are saying later, that he was like crying hysterically and all that as well, right? So let's continue on. All right. There was a chain link fence that separated me from the suspect. I gave the suspect instructions to keep his hands up in the air. During this time, the suspect said verbally out loud, "I was protecting myself." Big moment right there. It should be noted that I had not questioned him about the incident when he made that comment. I asked him if he had any weapons, and he said no. I patted him down for weapons while we were walking along the fence, and I did not locate any on his person. Right? Because the weapon was still on the bleachers somewhere. Okay. I instructed the male to continue walking along the fence, which he complied, towards an area where there was an opening in the fence that led off the track. While walking him off the track, the suspect also said he put his hands on me. I then detained the suspect in handcuffs, handcuffed him behind his back, and had him sit down on the ground. Officer Ricci, which we'll be reading her report here in a little bit, had arrived on the scene at that time. I conducted another pat down of his person and then searched his person. After he gave me consent, no weapons were located. While the suspect sat on the ground, I advised that I had the alleged suspect. The suspect then responds and says, "I'm not alleged. I did it." Next, Officer Ricci and I walked the suspect to patrol vehicle 2412. This is Officer Ricci's patrol vehicle, which was on the northeast gate of the stadium. As we were walking to the squad car, the suspect was emotional and said he put his hands on me. I told him not to. I did not question the suspect about the incident while he was escorted to the patrol vehicle. I searched his person once again, and I had him sit in the back seat area, driver's side of the patrol vehicle 2412. While the suspect was in the back seat, I noticed fresh blood on his left middle finger. I verbally acknowledged that I saw the blood out loud so that it would be captured by my body-worn camera. It should also be noted that the suspect asked me, "Is he going to be okay?" while he was in the back seat. I then identified the suspect. He provided his name and date of birth verbally as Carmelo Anthony, black male with a date birth of redacted, which I ran through the FPD dispatch. Officer Jay Hancock arrived on the scene and remained with me and the suspect at this point. Carmelo was then checked via eSchool, the database for the FISD students, to also confirm his identity. The identifying information he provided matched the individual I had in custody as Carmelo Anthony. Next, I was advised by Sergeant Holland to transport the suspect to the Frisco PD jail. Officer Hancock and I transported him to the FPD jail. Again, I did not question Carmelo about the incident. Upon arriving at the Frisco jail, Carmelo was escorted in the intake area. FPD jail staff changed him out into jail attire. I remained with the jail staff the entire time when he was changed over. The clothes that Carmelo was wearing was placed in an FPD paper evidence bag. The clothes remained in my possession from that point on. Upon Carmelo being placed into a jail cell, I continued to keep possession of his actual clothes. I returned to my patrol car, number 2412, along with Officer Hancock, which was in the FPD Saley port, and placed Carmelo's clothes in the back trunk. I drove the patrol vehicle, the same number, out of the Saley port and parked the squad car in the FPD patrol parking area. Carmelo's clothes remained in the trunk area of the vehicle, same number, 2412. FPD crime scene technician Dillard then took possession of his clothes. I added my body camera to the case. I have no further information to report. Now, same thing. Okay, now we're going to hear about Ricci. But one thing, a few takeaways. Right when Carmelo encounters the officer, okay, Officer Cortez, okay, school resource officer, the SRO, he immediately says, I was protecting myself. Then he says, it's not alleged. I'm not alleged. I did it. Then he asks if he's going to be okay. Then he also says that, I told him not to touch me. He put his hands on me. That's what it is. He put his hands on me. I told him not to. Okay. Now, some people might be going, oh, well, was he plotting as soon as he did this act? Maybe was he plotting his whole act, saying like, oh, this was self-defense, right? Could he just be making it up just so that he has a defense, so he doesn't just go down for the full first degree? Maybe. But he also could have been protecting himself. He also could have been believing that he was in a bad place and that he was scared for his life and that he was protecting himself. That's still a possibility, right? That's still a possibility, but that's up to the courts to decide. Let's move on. So this is also from Ricci, okay? Officer Ricci. So moving down, because it's basically the same breakdown of like trying to find the black male wearing a gray hooded sweatshirt with blue sweatpants. So when I arrived on the scene, I approached the track field area and saw Officer Cortez kneeling next to a black male wearing a gray hooded sweatshirt and black and blue sweatpants. The male, later identified as Carmelo Anthony, black male, redacted, was in handcuffs and seated on the sidewalk by the entrance of the track. As I approached Officer Cortez stated Anthony was the alleged suspect. Anthony then made a spontaneous statement and stated, again, same thing he said at that time too. She heard it too. I am not alleged I did it. Officer Cortez conducted a pat search of Anthony's person to ensure that he didn't have any weapons and found nothing of evidentiary value. Officer Cortez and I then walked Anthony to my pre-searched patrol vehicle, and Anthony was seated in the rear driver's side compartment of my patrol vehicle. While walking to my patrol vehicle, Anthony made another spontaneous statement and asked if what happened could be considered self-defense. I replied by telling Anthony I did not know what happened. It should be noted that the in-car camera in my patrol vehicle was activated prior to him being placed in the actual patrol vehicle. While Officer Cortez assisted Anthony into my patrol vehicle, I noticed that Anthony had some blood on his left middle finger. I grabbed my department issued digital camera and took a photograph of his hands. I later uploaded the photograph to the crime scene folder under the case number. Cortez remained with my patrol vehicle and Anthony while I provided assistance with the scene security. Nothing further from this officer. Moving on. And again, she heard him say, one, I'm not alleged, I did it. And then the other thing he said that also Cortez heard also was, Can this be considered? What I did, can it be considered self-defense? Some people, like I said, can look at that and think otherwise, like he was plotting. I don't know about all that. Okay. But moving on, we have Otis. Okay. So they went Wednesday, 1001 hours. FPD officers were dispatched in the Independent School District, or Frisco Independent School District, the FISD stadium, blah blah blah. So the FPD emergency communications was receiving an emergency call regarding an athlete that was stabbed. The originally unknown assailant was a black male wearing gray hoodie and blue sweatpants, and also had a goatee and short hair. The subject was possibly wearing a Centennial High School attire. Okay, as it was believed he was a student there for the sporting event. This had all taken place on the visitor side of the stadium, north side, and the victim was under the Memorial High School tent in the bleachers. Around this same time, the SRO Cortez, okay, the officer we heard from just a little bit ago, arrived on the scene and began assisting the victim, trainers, and other parties. Officer Cortez also advised on the radio that he also had the suspect. Sergeant Otis was working the 50 sector as the sergeant. He was in full uniform, okay, with distinct patches and badge and a police duty belt. He was also in a marked FPD patrol vehicle 2315. He was relatively close to the call and placed himself on it at around 1,002 hours and responded to the call with his patrol vehicle's overhead emergency lights and sirens activated. He arrived at the call at around 1,006 hours. Let's see. Sergeant Otis arrived to the stadium and began walking up to the location. At around this time, Cortez and Ricci were walking a black male black male subject, the suspect, away from the stadium. The suspect was crying hysterically. Please see the other officers' narratives for their involvement. Otis walked up to the visitor bleachers and observed the victim being treated by Frisco Fire Department, the FFD personnel, and also the athletic trainers. The weather began to turn, and it began to heavily downpour rain at this time. Some of the FISD staff moved the memorial tent over to cover the victim and the FFD personnel. Sergeant Otis began using his city-issued phone to snap crime scene photos to preserve as much of the scene as possible due to the weather and the large gathering of people that were involved in the incident. Other officers began to set up a crime scene with tape moving non-essential personnel out of the immediate area. The officers on scene were informed that the knife that was used was tossed and was still believed to be somewhere close. Eventually, one of the witnesses said they remember seeing it on the bleachers still. Officer Shawls was able to locate the actual knife. Sorry, guys. Locate the actual knife. It was located between rows 9 and 10, near seat 30, closest to the aisle, partially open. The rain began to come down again heavily, and it was determined that instead of moving the knife, the officers would cover it with a large blue tarp. Otis assisted in preserving the immediate crime scene as much as possible, while the other personnel tended the victim and eventually transported him. At around this time, Officer Wetzel had the crime scene log and began logging the individuals on the call to the best of his abilities. Lieutenants Crawford and Pemberton relieved Otis from the scene. Sergeant Otis went back to the police department to download his body cam and photos that he took of the city issued phone. His city issued phone had a total of 33 photos that were used to document the incident scene. During the download, the incident the initial photos formatting was incompatible with the crime scene folder. He re-downloaded the photos that he took, and they were able to be saved properly for preservation of evidence. At this time, there is nothing further to add to this report. Again, so we find out that the weapon was still there, was in the bleachers a few feet away. And then like I said, kid ran. He was arrested. Of course, the scene was starting to get washed away because of the downpour of rain, which is, it seems like it's like the scene from a movie. You know what I mean? If you really think about it. But just how this kid is losing his life and he's slowly slipping away, and you got the twin brother holding him, you know what I mean? And he just received this wound. I mean, it's a crazy thought, and a crazy scene to even just believe that was even a true story. But nonetheless, this is real, right? So moving on, Officer Wetzel. Okay, I arrived on the scene, grabbed a roll of crime scene tape from my trunk, and proceeded to the visitors' bleachers, where dispatch advised the victim was. While I was walking towards the visitors' bleachers, I was approached by a witness who identified themselves as redacted. They began telling me what happened, and I asked him where the stabbing occurred. This person advised, he advised it happened under the actual pop-up tent, okay, the Memorial High School pop-up tent in the visitors' bleachers. I immediately informed Sergeant Otis where the witness stated the stabbing occurred and gave him the crime scene tape to start securing the crime scene. Then I had this particular person move to the walkway under the visitors' bleachers out of the rain to further speak with me. The following is a summary of my contact with this particular person. He advised he was sitting under the Memorial High School pop-up tent with his team and was near the victim, Austin, and the suspect, who was later identified as Carmelo Anthony. We already know his description. Anthony was from Centennial High School and was sitting under the Memorial High School tent. Austin had told Anthony that he needed to move out from under their team's tent, and Anthony grabbed his bag, opened it, reached inside it, and proceeded to tell Austin, "Touch me and see what happens." No one really thought Anthony really had any weapons in his bag, and Austin proceeded to touch Anthony, and then Anthony told Austin to punch him and see what happens. That's new. Interesting. Hold on. He says, "Touch me and see what happens." No one really thought Anthony really had any weapons in his bag, and Austin proceeded to touch Anthony. And then Anthony told Austin to punch him and see what happens. A short time later, Austin grabbed Anthony to tell him to move, and Anthony pulled out what this particular person recalled as a black knife and stabbed Austin once in the chest and then ran away. Austin began grabbing his chest and telling everyone to get help. This particular person advised he did not know Anthony's name, but stated another Memorial track member, such and such, was friends with Anthony, and he could identify Anthony. This person described Anthony as a black male, skinny, with possibly a goatee, short puffy hair, and wearing Centennial High School clothing. This concluded my contact with this particular witness. I then was instructed to start a crime scene log. I retrieved a crime scene log from my patrol vehicle and began starting the crime scene log. I was later relieved by Officer Shawls, who took over the crime scene log, and I cleared the scene. Nothing further. This is very interesting. Right here is interesting, but this is one witness, and they were on the Memorial High School team. But it is very interesting. Let me repeat this part one more again, okay? Just really quick. So he had told Anthony, Austin had told Anthony that he needed to move out from under their team's tent And Anthony grabbed his bag, opened it, reached inside, and proceeded to tell Austin, touch me and see what happens. No one really thought Anthony actually had any weapons in his bag. So Austin proceeded to touch Anthony. And then Anthony said to Austin to punch him and see what happens. A short time later, Austin grabs Anthony to tell him to move. And then Anthony pulled out what they called a black knife and then attacked him. And then he ran. That's very interesting, right? Very, 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 very interesting. But let's move on. Next one, Officer Hancock. Okay. After hearing, we're just moving down from all the, I got dispatched this time, blah, blah, blah. After hearing more dispatch call information, I drove to the scene. While en route, I heard Officer Cortez say that he has the suspect in custody. When I got on the scene, I looked for Officer Cortez and then went straight to him to hold security with the suspect that he had handcuffed, or that he had cuffed and secured in the police squad, basically in the police squad car. Multiple witnesses were providing statements to officers where the stabbing occurred at the Memorial High School track tent. A short time later, Cortez and myself escorted the suspect Carmelo Sincere Anthony to the Frisco Adult Holding Facility. Anthony was transitioned off to the jail staff, without incident. All jail paperwork was completed and CID took the investigation from there. Now you got Officer Fisher. Okay, when I arrived at the scene, because he was just like, yeah, I was there, I saw him, blah, blah, blah. I escorted, I helped with Cortez bringing him and getting Carmelo processed after he was arrested. Let's move on to Officer Fisher. When I arrived on the scene, the crime scene was already marked off and the suspect was in custody. I began asking people if they were witnesses to anything. I made contact with Hunter, I'm assuming the brother, okay, and then this other person, okay. They were both breathing heavily and crying due to the nature of events. They were with coaches on the field, and it was pouring down rain. We made the decision to relocate in the locker room just to the east, to get out of the rain. Once in there, things calmed down a bit. However, they were still hysterical and could not really talk. In there, I learned Hunter was the brother of the victim. I attempted to ask them both what had happened. I could not really get anything out of Hunter, but I guess E, stated he wanted to speak. I asked him what happened, and he stated they were sitting on the bleachers under the actual tent when another male, Carmelo, who he did not know, walked over and sat under the tent. Okay. Then E said Austin, the victim, told this male that since he did not go to Memorial, he had to leave the tent. Austin and the male went back and forth, and then Austin stood up and pushed the male to get him out of the tent. Interesting. Let me repeat that again. Austin and the male went back and forth, and then Austin stood up and pushed the male to get him out of the tent. E, I'm assuming, had said during this time of arguing, the male was reaching around in his bag he had. It was at this time the male took out a knife and stabbed Austin and then left the scene. This is all E, or this particular person, remembered when he talked to me. After this, I stood by with the three athlete witnesses until CID arrived and interviewed them. I was then relieved by an SRO and went back to patrol. Nothing further. That's interesting. That's interesting information. But again, Austin went up and pushed him. Somebody else said he just put his hands on him. He just touched him. And then later grabbed him. And this one's saying, no, he pushed him. Okay. Interesting. Officer Crawford. Okay, I arrived on the scene and observed medical personnel and several bystanders standing next to a subject, later identified as the victim, Austin. Okay. The medical personnel were actively engaged in life-saving measures with Mr. Metcalf. I observed that that a crime scene was created around the area and began collecting names and contact information of the bystanders within the scene. I then met with Officer Wetzel and directed him to begin a crime scene log. As he was getting the needed paperwork, I took over his responsibilities of monitoring a witness, to the event. Ultimately, the witness was taken to another area out of the rain, and Officer Scholes took over the crime scene log, and I forwarded information about the bystanders to him. From that point forward, I worked with coordinating response with SRO, CID, CSI, and PIO. I took no other action at the scene. My body-worn camera did not activate when I initially arrived on the scene, but it did activate. But I did activate it when I discovered it wasn't recording while waiting with the witness. Nothing further. Interesting. So, Officer Scholes, upon arriving, I tried to get an updated location of this suspect. I could not see Officer Cortez when I arrived. Cortez informed over the radio that he had the suspect in custody. At this time, I turned my attention to the victim. Multiple FISD trainers were already performing CPR. I could see blood on and around the victim. At this time, medics arrived and began life-saving measures. I coordinated with other officers on the scene to secure the location. By this time, the students and FISD staff had cleared the area. I used crime scene tape and began to tape off the area. It began to rain harder at this time. Sergeant Otis and myself moved a Memorial High School tent over the medics. Sorry, I'm still here, guys. Over the medics and victim to attempt to preserve any evidence that we could, or any evidence, I'm thinking that's a typo, any evidence that we could. A Memorial coach approached me and informed me that he was with a student who claimed to see the entire altercation. I told the coach to stick with the student and that we would need to get him to the police station to give a statement. The student quickly informed me that he knew where the suspect threw the knife and pointed me to its location. I located the knife with Sergeant Otis and could see blood on the knife. I quickly used my issued phone to take pictures before the rain could wash the blood away. Sergeant Otis located a blue tarp, and we decided that we should cover the knife without touching it in an attempt to preserve any evidence. It was windy and raining hard. Once we where's my mouse? Once we positioned the tarp over the knife, I reached down and grabbed a backpack left in the stands to weigh the tarp down, and threw it up by where Sergeant Otis was positioning the tarp. It was later discovered that the backpack I threw up on the tarp was the suspect's backpack. It was the only Centennial High School backpack located within all of the Memorial High School backpacks in the area of the stands. After securing the area, the scene with the crime scene tape and attempting to preserve as much of the evidence as possible, I assisted other officers with locating other possible witnesses. Officer Wetzel was maintaining scene security while I was assisting the other officers. After the medics transported the victim, I relieved him of that post so he could go back on patrol. I maintained the scene security until the call was cleared. Photos will be uploaded to the crime scene folder, and my body cam will be downloaded at the end of the shift. No further information at this time. Then you got Pemberton, Officer Pemberton. Let's see. Upon arrival, several officers and medical personnel were attending to the victim who was lying on the ground in the stadium bleachers. I coordinated the Frisco PD response and trying to establish a crime scene. The knife reported to have been used in the assault was located by another officer in the bleachers. Shortly after my arrival, a large downpour of rain began. I directed several officers to use a tarp found on the scene to cover the location of the knife. I remained on the scene until the victim was transported and the crime scene was established. No further information, NFI. Then Officer Newton, while on the scene, Officer Landon requested assistance. Okay, this is okay. Sorry. Let me say this really quick. All right. So I responded to Texas Health Plano to assist with the case. I was tasked with meeting the ambulance at the hospital. I arrived prior to the ambulance and waited for them to arrive. They arrived at 10:46. Okay, with the victim, Austin, okay, who was brought into Trauma Bay for treatment at 10:53. Dr. Chow pronounced him deceased. Once he was pronounced, staff stopped treatment and disconnected cords and tubes from the machines without removing anything from the body itself. While on the scene, I took possession of his clothing worn by Austin and maintained possession of the items until CSI Dillard took them from the scene. While on the scene, Officer Landon requested assistance in lifting the sheets off the body to take photos. I then placed the sheets back when complete. I then stood by in the room for security while Officer Landon, Officer Hernandez, and CSI Dillard took additional photos. At one point, they rolled the body and removed shorts from Austin, which were bagged and stayed in my custody until CSI took them. At 13:24 hours, family was allowed into the scene to view the body. I was informed by staff and officers that they would be allowed to touch the head and feet of Austin, which they did. At 13:37 hours, nurses from the hospital bagged him in a body bag. 15:15 hours, transport service for the medical examiner arrived and took possession of the body. Tag number 1016978 was placed on the bag and secured. I took notes during this time, which were scanned to the report and booked as evidence. I turned in the crime scene log to be scanned to the report. At the conclusion of the call, I took my camera off covert mode and went to turn it off. At that point, I learned the camera had failed to activate. Due to it being on covert mode, I did not see the indicator lights on the top of the camera. That's interesting. You'd think that they'd be like on point with that stuff, right? Hold on. All right. Moving on. Officer Higgins. Officer Higgins was working as the desk officer at 7200 Stonebrook Parkway. Approximately 10:42 hours, I guess Hunter, white male, walked into the main lobby stating that he had witnessed this stabbing and was told to come to the lobby to complete a witness statement. I gave this particular person a voluntary witness statement, which he worked on until detectives arrived to speak with him. He left with detectives and I returned to my normal duties. Moving on, Officer Craig, okay, upon arrival, okay, so this is approximately 10:01 hours. So he was also at the scene as well. So he immediately responded to the scene. Upon arrival, I first made contact with Officer Cortez, who was standing next to a marked police vehicle. Officer Cortez advised that he had detained the suspect and he was in the patrol vehicle. I then responded to the victim's scene. that was in the north bleachers. As I walked up, I noticed Frisco Fire Department personnel was attempting to provide life-saving measures to a subject later identified as Memorial High School student Austin Metcalf. As other officers worked on the scene, I was asked respond to to the stadium's medical/locker room area to keep the following Memorial High School students/witness separated from until detectives could speak with them. And these were the three names. So there were three people. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. While with them, I was told to take their cell phones from them and later turn them over to Sergeant Bissonette. After being relieved, I was asked to make contact with all FISD athletes that had been placed on school buses. Below is the list of students who identified themselves as witnesses to the attack or stabbing of Austin Metcalf. And there's a lot of names. Diggity damn. That's a lot of names, guys. Brow. That's a whole lot of names. So there's a lot of witnesses. Like I said, we're hearing one person saying that Austin pushed Carmelo. Other people are saying he just touched him. Then, Carmelo said, punch me and find out what happens and see what happens, right? So this is very interesting. Now you got a whole bunch of people, potential witnesses for this whole situation as well. So I was also met by the following coaches who advised they witnessed the incident as well. So you also have other coaches from different schools that actually saw what happened as well, which, by the way, could be crucial. This could be absolutely crucial to get the full truth without the pressures of these kids maybe saying, like, let's just say these kids are like the kids are trying to lie to make Austin look like he's like he didn't do anything wrong. Let's just say. So it would be good to have the coaches because they will hopefully have a non-biased view of what happened, because some of these kids could be manipulated, right? That's possible, right? That is possible. We just gotta, we have to leave that on the table for right now. But moving on, okay. So yeah, and then after completing this task, I cleared the scene. Okay, nothing further. So moving on, Alvarez. So Sergeant Alvarez responded to the stabbing call. Okay, I provided scene security and assisted with keeping civilians away from the crime scene. I maintained this position until I was relieved by CID detectives and cleared the scene. Nothing further. And then finally, the last one, Officer Miller. Okay. So they were there. They were dispatched about the stabbing. Okay. Upon my arrival at the location, my only duty was to provide scene security. As the Frisco medic was leaving the location, I assisted in moving people out of the way for the medic to be able to drive through. Shortly after, I cleared the scene. Nothing further. Now, there's a lot that is in here for sure. Most definitely a lot that's being said in here. I think that this is a very telling and a very interesting situation, because nonetheless you have a lot of eyewitnesses, and even just in those few eyewitness accounts that we've heard, a lot of them have different variations, like different viewings of what actually happened. So hopefully law enforcement is doing their due diligence and getting as many of those stories as they can and finding out what's the most consistent one, right? What's the most consistent narrative? Did Austin go up and just touch Carmelo? Did he actually shove Carmelo? Did Carmelo really say, punch me, like touch me and see what happens? And then Austin's like, okay, I'm touching you, bro. What you gonna do? And then Carmelo says, okay, well, touch me. Punch me and see what happens. And then, of course, Austin grabs him, and this is what one of the accounts is saying, one of the witness accounts is saying, and then that's when he pulled out the weapon and he stabs him. Now, of course, the question is, which one is actually true? Did he shove him? Did he just touch him? Was he tauntingly touching him like, oh, you're really gonna taunt me? You're really gonna say you're gonna do something really bad by me touching you? Really, bro? Okay, man. I'm touching you. What are you going to do about it? That could have been what it happened. That really could have been what happened right there, right? Or there's other accounts that say that he shoved him, that he pushed him, that he actually pushed Carmelo. So again, I'm wondering what actually happened here, right? Those accounts are a little bit different, just a bit different. They're not drastically different, okay? But they are different nonetheless. So I'm curious as to what we're going to hear or what we're going to find here in the near future, right? And those other kids, all those kids, and also, most importantly, those coaches that were all there, that all witnessed this interaction, I feel like they're going to be more important because they're going to have a more unbiased viewing, I think, than the actual team that saw what happened to Austin. That's just what I think, right? But we'll see what happens, though. This is a very, very interesting turn of information, in my personal opinion. And of course, there's going to be more information that comes out as time goes on. So keep an eye out for it, guys. We're going to be talking about this for a good while, I'm sure, as more information comes out. But that is the show, guys. I appreciate all y'all for being here. It really means a lot. Again, there was a lot to dissect, a lot to break down. Appreciate you guys being here. All right. Hopefully the chat wasn't too insane today. Okay. But I do appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for having the conversation with me. It means a lot. Hit that like button down below, please, and thank you. Crush it, do it, do. That would mean the world to me. Okay, hit that like button down below. Don't forget to hit that reaction button if you're watching on other platforms. If you are watching on those other platforms like Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, make sure you're hitting that follow button. Follow. Crush that subscribe button here on my main channel. Go to my second channel. I just put up a video a little bit ago. Some Blake Lively updates. Go check it out. It's on the second channel, The Pascal Show Clips. Go check it out. Subscribe over there as well. Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Check out my Patreon. Check out my locals. And of course, don't forget, check out PascalMerch.com. Okay, guys? But anyway, guys, it's time to get going. Much love to you guys, and I'll be talking to you guys very soon, okay? Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.